Samson? Samson, thank God you're here. Samson? Are you okay, buddy?
How did you know I was here? I'm camouflaged.
Samson, look, the Philistines rule over us. Why are you causing all this trouble?
I'm just doing to them what they've done to me. And all of these things.
No. No, you're not. First, you robbed and killed 30 people just because of a riddle. Technically speaking, according to your logic, their families have a right to get revenge on you. You burned up their food supply, causing people who are completely unrelated to this incident to go hungry and possibly starve, including children. I mean, the Philistines killed 2 of their own people, sure, which I admit was a dick move. But you've killed scores of Philistines who didn't even have anything to do with this. Well, what do you have to say for yourself?
Chill out, dickwad.
Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another video with the Bahamian Atheist. This time around I want to try and exercise with you guys. I'm not sure when I started doing this myself, but at some point after I had lost my faith in religion and the beliefs that accompanied it, I often had moments where I would think back on Bible stories I was taught as a kid. Stories like Samson, the Exodus from Egypt, as well as Jesus' supposed crucifixion were few of the many stories that I would revisit, and what I would end up doing is thinking about those stories from the perspective of the people who weren't chosen by God, who weren't the spotlight of the story, the people who we call antagonists, and the points of view of those in the midst of what was going on. I mean, it's only fair. At the end of the day, a shitty person is a shitty person, whether you see it from their side or not. But Bible stories get a special allotted amount of bias. To this day, I remember my junior high school English teacher swooning over these stories, asking us if we had read the Bible from front to back. And now that I've actually read the damn thing, I'm kind of pissed. I mean, if this is what she calls amazing, then I'm insulted that I got anything less than a C when it came to my essays. But personal problems set aside, let's get started. By the way, this is most definitely not going to be a one video thing. Some Bible stories are short enough for that. This most definitely is not. So here we go. Part 1, the story of Samson. So a lot of you are familiar, and for those of you who aren't, Samson the Strong is a revered biblical character, renowned for his strength. I remember his poster prominently placed in my primary school classroom, along with David and a few others. They talk a lot about his strength, but fail to mention the fact that he was kind of a stupid barbarian prone to violence. His entire purpose of existence was to free the Israelites from the Philistines, a situation that God himself is directly responsible for, and the way in which Samson goes about that, or the way in which God prompts him to do that, is, what can I say, done with a little less than finesse. So skipping ahead in the story to what I would consider one of the more funny parts of the story, Judges 14, Samson sees a woman in a nearby town and demands that his parents go and get her for him. Now, speaking to the black Israelites and those of you who really believe that the Bible is a book written by black people for black people, I guess this passage is just supposed to be exemplary of Samson's absolute strength, because let me tell you something, no black child was making it out of the house after this. I can't even demand a cup of water. This fucking guy got his parents going out and fetching gravity. But anyway, that ain't my business. Reading the passage, Judges 10:12. Now his father went down to see the woman, and there Samson held a feast, as was customary for young men. When the people saw him, they chose 30 men to be his companions. Let me tell you a riddle, Samson said to them. If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. Tell us your riddle, they said. Let's hear it. He replied, out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. Now everything seems normal here. They're having a feast and Samson says, hey, I got something fun. Why don't you guys try and solve this riddle? Probably drinking, laughing, chuckling up a bit. They make this bet. Samson shares the riddle, and after about 3 days, the men still don't have an answer. And this is what ensues after. On the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property? As you can tell, things have kind of kicked up drastically. Over the course of those 3 days, these 30 men who were selected to be his companions have resorted to threatening his wife and home to avoid giving him clothes. She then finds Samson and out of fear of her own life tries to get him to spill the answer to his riddle. He eventually caves and gives her the answer, which she then gives to those 30 men. Samson then proceeds to make his way to the nearby village, killing 30 random people, stealing their clothes and handing them over to the men that solved the riddle. Burning with anger, he then hands his wife over to one of those said companions. Before sunset on the 7th day, the men of the town said to him, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson said to them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." Then the Spirit of the Lord came down powerfully upon him. He went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of everything, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home, and Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who had attended the feast with him. So let's go over this one more time. God gets a woman pregnant so that she can have a son who can free the Israelites from the Philistines. Again, a situation that he himself incited. This woman has a child with the strength to tear a lion in half, who would later discover a woman who he wants to make his wife. Now keep in mind, back then the way it was done is that women were basically bargaining chips. 12 goats and a calf for your finest daughter kind of thing. So she had no say. She ends up with this man, and within 4 days of being together, she gets threatened by his groomsmen. Not willing to die for a person she has no real intimate connection with, she gets the answer to his riddle and trades it for her life. When Samson's riddle is answered, he immediately accuses his wife of cheating on him. He then proceeds to slaughter 30 random strangers, strips their dead bodies naked, probably leaving them exactly where he found them, and in an act of sour loserdom, hands over 30 bloody pieces of clothes to the people who answered the riddle. He also trades in his wife because, you know, how dare she not want to die over a riddle/bet. That's just disloyal. Keeping in mind that this is all literally a part of God's plan. He got Zora pregnant, Samson's mother by the way, gave them instructions on how to raise the child, which we are to assume that they followed, meaning that Samson is exactly the kind of person he was expected to be. He then entices Samson to get married by dangling a nice looking woman in his face. During the feast of the marriage, he then makes a bet with the 30 men that were accompanying him. This bet, by the way, is the entire pillar of the story. This bet right here is the crux of the entire story as it is. The conflict is obviously manufactured strictly so Samson has a reason, quote unquote, to act the way he does. Because if we're being completely honest here, he doesn't really have much of a reason at all. Anyway, that's it for this video, and the next video we're going to continue on with the story of Samson. But of course, I can't just leave you guys without giving you a few questions. So if you're watching this and you're a believer, if you're a person that's questioning your faith or whatever have you, here's a thought. Some people say that God has a plan for everybody. Do you think that some people's roles are just bigger than others? Do you think that there are people in life whose specific purpose is simply to propel the actions of others who have bigger purposes to fulfill? Because it's like, not everybody is Jesus, but Jesus wouldn't have been crucified without a Judas. So yeah, like, what do you think? Do you think that certain people have bigger roles than others? Is everybody's role equal? If the role of a person is inherently evil, quote unquote, does that person still go to hell? If they're, in the long run, they're fulfilling God's plan. If God needs an antagonist for a story to propel the protagonist, then somebody has to do that job. So if your destiny in life is to be the antagonist, are you still doing God's work by being that person? Yeah, questions that I'm really interested in seeing the answers to. And I'll see you guys next time in the next video. This has been the Bahamian Atheist, signing out.